The Bodos. Who are they? Bodo race is the largest race of the Northeastern India. If we united, no one can stop us. 1971 census report of India shows that Bodos are 8th largest tribe of India. 1971 census report of India said that there were 1.2 million Bodo speakers in Assam, which makes for 5.3 of the total population in the state. They are lying scattered in different provinces, especially in the northeastern part of the country and neighboring foreign countries. B.K. Burua, renowned scholar of Assam, also mentioned about the Bodos in his book entitled A Cultural History of Assam, in the same way that the Bodos built strong kingdom and with the various portions and other various tribal names, Mlese, Sutia, Kosari, Kos, etc. The Bodo is the largest Indo-linguistic group in Assam state of India. They are a part of the greater Bodo Kosari family of ethno-linguistic groups. Bodo Kosari is a generic term applied to a number of ethnic groups, predominantly in Assam, speaking Tibeto-Burman language for claiming a common ancestry. Bodo language, one of the languages spoken by this group, has recognized as an 8th scheduled Indian language in the year 2004. It is also one of 22 languages listed in the 8th schedule of the Constitution of India. Since 1975, the language has been written using the Devanagari script. Some scholars have suggested that the language used to have its own, now lost script known as Deuthai. In 1985, Bodo has been recognized as an associate state official language of Assam. Today, the Bodo language serves as a medium of instruction up to the higher secondary level, and it is an associate official language in the state of Assam. Bodo language and literature have been offered as a postgraduate course. The University of Guwahati since 1996. It is studying and teaching more at postgraduate level as a language subject is being conducted at Fort University of Assam, Bodoland University, Guwahati University, Dibrugarh University, and Northeastern Hill University, Nehu, Shillong, Meghalaya. Moreover, under the aegis of the Commission for Scientific and Technical Terminology, which are the Ministry, the Gov of India, the Bodo Sahitya Sabha is preparing more than 40,000 scientific and technical terms in Bodo language. Further, it is promised the Sahitya Academy would accord Bhasha Sanman, respect for language, to the Bodo language and literature as an initial token of full-fledged recognition to it. Furthermore, the Gov of India in principle has recognized the necessity of inclusion of the Bodo language and literature in the 8th schedule of the Constitution of India. The term Bodo was first used by B.H. Hudson in 1847 to denote a group of languages. Grierson took his term to denote a section of the Assam Burma group of the Tibet-Burma speakers of the Sino-Tibetan speech family, which included the language of Mes, Rabha, Lalung, Dimasa, Garo, Tripura, and Sutia. The term Bodo is used to denote a large number of tribes. In recent time, the tribe that was originally called Bodo Kosari are now being called Bodo. This contraction from Bodo Kosari to Bodo is widely accepted now. According to Hudson, since the people who were known as Kosari and Mes to others call themselves Bodo, and also the Kosari sheep deities Siju, Mairong, and Agrang are also Mes deities. The term Bodo is the proper designation for the tribe. The exonym Mes originated from the Sanskrit word Mlesa. Bodo were repeatedly called as Mles or Mes. According to Alamgir Nama, Coach Bihar was inhabited by Coach and Mes in ancient Sanskrit literature. Bodo were called as a Kirats and Mleses. Copperplate land grain inscription related to Ramkha and Mohalia Kosari were found. They were first classified by S. Endil as the Kosaris, where Bodo is derived from Bod, which means Tibet, and Kosari is derived from Kasar, meaning area near the river. They are considered to have reached the Brahmaputra valley via Tibet and settled in the foothill of the eastern Himalayan range, which includes the whole of Assam, Tripura, North Bengal, and part of Bangladesh and Nepal. That the Bodo Kosari were early colonizers of the river valley is taken from the fact that most of the rivers in the Brahmaputra valley today carry Tibet-Burmese name Dibong, Dihang, Dikhu, Dining, etc., where D means water in Dimasa language, T oblique Thui Tripuri language, Dui, Boro, and C in Garo. Based on an 1881 census, there were 17 graphs within the Kosari classification. Kosari classification Bodo, Mes, Dimasa, Dimal, Garo, Hajong, Kos, Lalung, Moran, Fulgaria, Sutia, Rabha, Sonowal, Tengwal, Tiprasa, Zomatia, Bru, Riang, Mox, Usai, Noatia, Dep Barma, Kalai, Halam, Rupini, Arsing, Rauja, Hang Koal, Keeping, etc. Some of the group such as Moran and Soronia consider themselves as lower caste Hindus. Other groups such as the Garo, Rabha, Lalung, and Hajong, having been isolated from the perennial stock, have the exception of the Garo, which is still a matrilineal society. The other group have given up rule of the matrilineal society. The Mes is Western Assam, West Bengal, and Nepal. The Bodo is Central Assam. The Dimasa in Dima Hasao district, formerly North Kasar Hill, Nagaon Kasar district, and Sonowal, Tengwal in the eastern part of the Brahmaputra, now present the Kosari. As mentioned above, the Bodo are the original settlers of the Brahmaputra valley, and they rule the northeastern part of the India with their powerful kingdom since time immemorial. There is no doubt that they do have glorious past with the kingdoms of our Brahmaputra valley down to North Bengal, Kasar Hills, Sylhet, and Tripura. Prakash 2008 262. Due to their settlement in the different places, their different kingdoms were identified with the different name. For example, Kosari Kingdom, Kos Kingdom, Dimasa Kingdom, Sutia Kingdom, Moran Kingdom, Borahi Kingdom, and so on was some of the prominent kingdoms of the Bodos. Sonwal 2013/8, but the Bodos lacked possession among the themselves, hence they had not a single identified kingdom under the Bodos. As per the word epic, Mahabharata, Ramayana, Puranas, and others have also referred that Assam was a land of malicious and civilized people like Kirat, Usura, inhuman being, Danabo, giant, and Raikus, demons. The ethnographical study have also proved that Assam was a land of non-Arzo people or Mongolid people. Mosahari 2011. Most of the scholars are also agreed upon the Mongolids one practically occupied the whole of the northeastern region, as was the mention as the Kirats in ancient Sanskrit literature. The early rulers from the period of 5th to mid-11th century were also Indo-Mongolid of the various dynasties in the plain of Assam. Bosumutari 2012. This land of Assam was called the Praxutis. Was called in the age of Mahabharata later on. It is known as a Kamruk as mentioned in Puranas, Kolika Puran and Vishnu Purana, and the king of the Praxutis was mentioned in the epic Mahabharata and the Ramayana, and which is generally accepted by the scholar with the view that the western Assam also with the some portion of North Bengal where the court part of the kingdom. Chaudhary 2007 and Grierson in this regard mentioned that the Mez people it ruled Praxutis for over 4,000 years. Prakash 2008 page 262. As I mentioned in the great ancient world, the legendary king like Mohiranga, Norkasur, Bhagadokta, Bansur, Bhaskar, Burman, etc. are described to have been the Bodos. Mosari 2011. Among those, Norkasur was the first king of the ancient Brahmaputra Valley in the real sense, though some historians believe Mohiranga Danav as the first king of Praxutispur, but was not a king in real sense. Sonwal 2013 page 9. It was the Norkasur who is first established a kingdom in real sense after the Mohiranga dynasty. This dynasty was forwarded by his son Bhagadokta, who was also known as the chief of Kosari or the Mleses, and registered his name in the ancient epics of Bhagavat Puran, Vishnu Puran, Kolika Puran, the Mahabharata, and so on. These texts have mentioned that these legendary kings are the Kirat, and the Kiratos are the major component of the population of Praxutispur. The Mahabharata in its Sobha Barbhan, the Kirat was described as a very rich in supplying gold, silver, gems, which they obtained from the mountain, and also expert in making cloth of various kinds. Some of them served as an army of the king Bhagadatta. The Ramayana also described the Kirat as a fearless as a tiger. Again, the Kalika Puran and Jogini Tantra describe the Kirat as the original inhabitants of Kamruk, Kakoti. 1967, however, the king Bhagadatta was a very strong and powerful king of Praksatispur, as was preached in the epic of Mahabharata, and he died in the great Kurukshetra war. Early history of the Kamruk, page number 14. Konoklal Borua. This Mongolian belonged to the Tibet-Burman family of the Indo-Chinese group, and they are representatives of the present day are Kasari, Kosh, Rava, Kukis, and Sutias of this. The tribes speaking Bodo language seem to have occupied the plain of Assam for a very long time. These Bodo people were no doubt the Kirat and Malays spoken of the Mahabharata. The messages of Assam still preserve traces of the name Malaysia, applied for their forefather by the early Aryan coming into Praksatispur. Linguistic Survey of India, Vol 3, Part 2, 1903, G.A. Grierson. Mess is a corruption of Malaysias. The rule Praksatispur for 1000 years and began to decline from the 11th century. The Bodo of Jalpaiguri and Tirai called themselves Mess. History of Assam, Sir Edward Gate, page number 247. The Kosari may perhaps be described as the aborigine or the earliest known inhabitant of Brahmaputra Valley. They are identically with the people called Mes in Goalpara and North Bengal. These are the names given them by the outsider. In the Brahmaputra Valley, the Kosari called themselves Bodo or Bodopsa, son of Bodus or mankind. In the North Kasar Hill, they called themselves Dimasa or Dimasa, son of the great river, Dimapisa. Early history of Assam, Rai Bahadur Konok Lal Borua, page nong 18. The early mentioned king Kamruk Prakshutis all Assam, and it was known in more ancient time was a non-Aryan name Mairong Danova, and the name Mairong was Sanskritized into Mohirongo. It is clearly a Bodo name, and the people of his race who then inhabited the country were called Kirats and Malays, as they were Mongolian. Dr. T.C. Sharma, The Culture and Civilization of Assam in Assam and Assamese Mind, 1980, page number 5. From the record in the epic, the Ramayana and Mahabharata dated 1000 BC to 800 BC. It is known that the northeastern frontier kingdom of India by Malaysia, territory ruled by the Bodo king, referred to as a Danov, and Usuros by the Aryan oak. The Ganga Valley was known as a Prakshutis, later known as a Kamruk, with its centered shrine of the mother goddess Kamaika on the Nilasol hill overlooking the mighty Brahmaputra, which is called Burlungbuthur, within present metropolitan complex of city Guwahati. Dr. S.K. Chatterjee, Kirat Sanskriti, page nong 63. The Aryan people coming to eastern in India, North Bengal and Assam, they used coal modern Assam and Lohid by the name of Malays, Des, or the country it Malays or Mes or Bodo people. The historian H.K. Borfujari said the Kasari was belonged to the great Bodo race, were perhaps one of the earliest aboriginal tribes of the Brahmaputra Valley. Bhuyan 2007, according to the Rep S. Andil, the Bodo Kasari is race in the original inhabitant of Assam. There is one of the course no historical evidence of its early migration and settle. History say the Bodo are the aboriginal of Assam. They once ruled Assam still. They ruled Assam till around 1854 AD. Bodo, Mes, Dimasa, Koz, Rabha, Bormon, Sonowal, Tipra, Garo, Deuri, Tiwa, Tengwal, Soronia, Dimal, Hajong, Riang, Bru, Moran, Sutia, Borahi, Isting, etc. Today only some part of Bodo who call themselves as a Bodo nationalist. We are the earliest, largest, oldest community. We are everywhere Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, Nagaland, Mizoram, Arunachal, Bengal, Bhutan, Nepal, and Bangladesh, etc.